about 2 minutes. Hatch. Alright. I will talk and I'll give you a little time before. Pleasant good day to all listeners, viewers, locally, regionally, and internationally. Welcome to Facts, Not Fiction. And of course, today will be another day of intense truth and nothing but the truth. As I strive on this program to bring the facts to you so that you can have a first-hand knowledge as to what is taking place in our country. And I bring it down to the simple fact that each and every one could clearly understand what is taking place. Ladies and gentlemen, I had the displeasure of witnessing on our media houses and social media a reckless, distasteful type of behavior. And when I saw that behavior, ladies and gentlemen, I know for a fact that this gentleman has lost his way in the management, in the development, and also with the dischargement of his duty in the political arena. I saw the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago behave in a particular way this week that I, without a shadow of a doubt, within the perimeters of my intellectual thinking, understand that Keith Christopher Rowley has lost his way. But not only has Keith Rowley lost his way, ladies and gentlemen, I also witness a behavior by the Speaker of our Parliament, a discriminatory type of behavior, in that the Speaker of our Parliament, whose duties should be and must be displayed not only fairly, but in the interests of country. I saw the speaker continue to allow those on the government side the option to behave outside and contrary to the standing orders on a given particular subject, unlike when our opposition parliamentarians use the same leverage that is given to those on the other side. They are quickly cut down, quickly put to sit. And that is the type of behavior that we continue to see in our highest court of this land, which is called the Parliament. Our Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, it should be a dignified institution. Our Parliament, our members of Parliament should be held to the highest order and standard, because our Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, make laws that not only govern us, but even govern our unborn children. And when you see the conduct of our parliamentarians in relation to the government side, we know for a fact that we are heading in a particular direction that to the end of the day, our country has now become the laughing stock of the world. And this is something that we must never accept. We must never accept the type of behavior that we are seeing now. We must never accept that. We must take a stand and put a stop and hold our politicians accountable for their oath of office, and also accountable, ladies and gentlemen, to us, the electorates. I don't know if my producer have that film, but I would like you to watch this, the behavior of our Prime Minister, before I continue.
The Prime Minister called on opposition MPs to ask their leader when she took the COVID vaccine and when she got COVID. This was his response to questions from opposition MPs in the House of Representatives today, as they called on him to say whether or not he received a dose of the Pfizer vaccine donated by the US to the Ministry of National Security. The Prime Minister said he would dignify what he called an out-of-place question with an answer. The opposition leader says she does not have COVID and never did. Jewel Brown reports.
Unlike the other leader in this house, I told the country when I was diagnosed as a positive patient with COVID-19.
The Prime Minister called on opposition MPs to ask their leader when she took the COVID vaccine and when she got COVID.
During what turned out to be a heated exchange at times between himself and members of the opposition during Prime Minister's question time on Wednesday. He was being pressed by the opposition about the 400 doses of the 2-dose Pfizer vaccine that the government said was donated by the United States to the National Security Ministry.
Member for Caroni Central.
Thank you. Can the Prime Minister indicate whether he was a recipient of this Pfizer vaccine?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I wish that the members of the opposition would stop attempting to mislead the public with blatant lies and untruths.
It was at this point the Prime Minister began to compare himself to the opposition leader.
I told the country when I was in isolation I told the country when I can be vaccinated. The Minister of Health actually told the country the date on which I can be vaccinated. So to come here today and ask me if I took vaccine from the 400, you are just a mischief maker, and that is your pen. Go and find out from your leader when she took it and when she got COVID.
No, Prime Minister, that is all.
In a statement issued after the lower house sitting on Wednesday, opposition leader Prasad Basessa claimed what she called Dr. Rowley's infatuation with her hit a new level of weirdness. Mrs. Prasad Basessa said she was sorry to disappoint those she called her devoted admirers in the PNM, as she said she does not have COVID and she never did. Caroni Central MP Arnold Ram had sought clarification on whether the Prime Minister could identify the group of persons in the National Security Ministry who received the 200 first shot of the Pfizer vaccine donated by the government of the United States.
I'm not prepared to identify individuals who have received a particular vaccine. I did say to the country last Saturday that the 400 vaccines were offered to the National Security Department, and it was for use by the National Security Department, and it has so been used under the guidance of the Ministry of Health.
Oropuch East MP Dr. Udal Munilal pressed further.
Prime Minister, in light of the suspicious nature of the importation of these vaccines, are you willing to provide to the House at a later time the list of persons, as a matter of public record already, who have received these vaccines?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I do not have that information, and if the member wants the names of who got it, then I'll ask the Ministry of Health whether they're prepared to do that. But I also will tell the member there was no suspicious nature other than the suspicion that you tried to create.
In her statement, opposition leader Prasad Basessa said Prime Minister Rowley refused to answer the simple question of whether he took what she called the secret Pfizer vaccine. Naparima MP Rodney Charles toed the opposition line.
Naparima.
A simple question, yes or no, did you receive the vaccine, the Pfizer?
Madam Speaker, I would not dignify the member for Naparima, his out-of-place question, with an answer. You are a stranger to the truth.
Jewel Brown, TV6 News.
Minutes earlier, Naparima.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, a simple question from Arnold Ram, Caroni Central. A simple question. And that question, ladies and gentlemen, simply was, Prime Minister, were you a recipient of that vaccine? What is so wrong about that question? What is so contrary about that question? What gets Rowley upset about this question? The MP further went on to ask for clarification as to who really received that vaccine. Dr. Munilal, MP Munilal, also went on to ask the same question. MP Charles, Rodney Charles, asked the same question. Prime Minister, did you receive that vaccine? Yes or no? But up comes that question is undignifying, and so on and so on and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, who Keith Rowley really feel that he is? Keith Rowley feel that when he behave and conduct himself in that order in the parliament, that we on the opposition will become frightened. Rowley believed that when he behaved in that arrogant manner, that somebody in the opposition will tremble. Rowley believed that when he shout and prance and try to embarrass and use all kind of distasteful methods against persons who are elected to represent this country, what do Keith Rowley believe? That somebody will shiver in their seat? Ladies and gentlemen, our parliament, our country is about all of us, our country, we must want what is best for our country. And the type of behavior that we continue to see a prime minister demonstrate on social media, in press conferences, in parliament, it is not only distasteful. My 9-year-old son, when he saw the behavior of Keith Rowley, he said, "Daddy, like that man smoking coke." That is what he said. He said, "Well, Daddy, like he will cost them this now." And that is what we see when we look at Rowley behavior. What we see animosity, we see bitterness, we see hate. And if you push him hard enough, Patrick Manning said, he becomes a raging bull. But I want Keith Rowley to know that on the opposition side, we have individuals that are tame bull. We are good bullfighters. A bull never win a battle against us yet. We fight the baddest bull and put them on the back. And I want to say to you, Keith Christopher Rowley, do your job as the Prime Minister of this country and stop being a wajank. That is the behavior that you demonstrate. Added to that, we're talking about secrecy. There was so many secrecy behind those Pfizer vaccine. In that, a matter of fact, you stood up 2 o'clock that Saturday and you said that you do not know when vaccines would be coming from the United States. You said, Keith Rowley, that you working night and day, day and night to get vaccines. You went so far that you tell us that you had discussions with Maxine Waters and also with Kamala Harris. You tell us that you were negotiating with the big guns in Washington to get vaccine. But to the end of the day, Keith Rowley, you stood up and you tell us that you doesn't have a date when vaccine would be coming from the US. And it so happened that you self turn wrong. You self turn wrong after and contradict yourself. The same night, vaccine reach in Piaco International Airport. Members of the Defense Force went to the airport to collect vaccines. Members of the Defense Force were seen in the custom and exile restricted areas. Custom officers had to inquire and to investigate what they were doing within those perimeters. And then they were told by one Lance Corporal that they are here to pick up vaccines. The officer himself was not aware as to what section of national security the vaccines were going. The officer also said that they are waiting on someone who would be bringing the vaccines in a carry-on luggage. Added to that, the so-called diplomat that brought the vaccines to Piaco Airport brought the vaccines with no documentation. Added to that, those who went to clear the vaccine, they themselves had no documentation. Keith Rowley, you stood up on another conference and you said that there were some persons who your national security personnel were working with or does communicate with, and they were promised a handful of vaccines. You, Keith Rowley, stood up and said that not only they were promised those vaccines, but they sought permission to bring in those vaccines. You said, Keith Rowley, that permission was granted. And you said, Keith Rowley, in defense of yourself and in defense of the lies, you said that you were aware, but you didn't know where the gifts were at the point in time. Rowley, the gift could have been home by you. The gift could have been home by you. You do not know where the gifts were at that point in time. Added to that, you stood up and you said, Keith Rowley, that the person who promised the vaccine were bringing the vaccine for themselves. So is it the diplomat that brought the vaccine? Is it this said diplomat, Keith Rowley, who had promised your persons, your personnel in national security these vaccines? Keith Rowley, since when does America operate sending vaccines to a country with no paperwork? A matter of fact, Keith, these items that were brought to Trinidad and Tobago could have well be some sort of biochemical weapon. These vaccines, these so-called vaccines, could have been some kind of mass chemical destruction. Because if we allow vaccines to enter our country without any paperwork, which is contrary to customs and exiles bill, then something has to be wrong. I want to know that while the customs controller is the custom controller bigger than our laws? Keith Rowley, I am saying today, I want to know since when the US will send this type of vaccination in liquid form without any kind of paperwork, without any permission, without any license. A matter of fact, we have had the Dutch people send Johnson & Johnson vaccine to this country. And while that vaccine came to this country, prior permission was granted. Prior permission was granted. Keith Rowley, I am saying that you were not aware, that you had no information. And when that vaccine came that night, it was as business as usual. This one called that one tell this one get permission from that one come and collect. And that is how this present administration has been running this government since 2015. Since 2015. Keith Rowley, you stood up and you boast that after your discourse with Kamala Harris and other ramrods in California, in Washington, that vaccine going to be coming, Trinidad and Tobago going to benefit from this 500 million, only to realize that, Keith, under your stewardship, you have nothing to benefit. And later on, I will tell you why Trinidad and Tobago. This government have nothing to benefit. the US is treating us as a partner, but a partner with a knife in the hand. So the US is expecting any time that this administration could stab them in the back, because this is what Rowley and his administration has been perpetrating over the years by being friends with all the enemies of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, what is happening in our country today, you are the ones to blame. And I make no apology. You are the ones to blame, because what I saw back in 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 20 coming forward, I saw a people who take torchlight to try and find what they couldn't find in the daylight. We take torchlight to look for it in the night. And this is the type of behavior. What is so secretive about this vaccine? Who in national security received this vaccine? Was it the Coast Guard? Was it the Army? Was it the Air Guard? Was it the Police Service? Was it the National Security Council, whom Keith Rowley chairs? He is the chair of the National Security Council. What part of national security get these so-called top-of-the-line vaccines? Or did these vaccines, ladies and gentlemen, went out to the hierarchies family within the PNM? Is that why Keith Rowley cannot answer? Is that why all the secret around this vaccine? Is that the secret for this vaccine, this Pfizer? Is it because the top ranking officials and their children within the PNM get these vaccines? We are calling on Keith Christopher Rowley to make not only available but make public the section of national security that receive those vaccines. You see, Rowley himself said that this is an era, particularly now, where persons have been lied to so often that every ounce of information has to be checked and double checked. And I am saying today, ladies and gentlemen, that Keith Christopher Rowley tell the truth on this occasion. Every piece of information that comes out of Keith Christopher Rowley mouth must be checked, double checked, triple checked to ensure that what we are hearing is the truth, because we have come across, we have seen, we have tasted, we have touched the amount of lies that come out from this administration, the leaders of this administration, that sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, people have been lied to so much that some of them start to believe the lies that have been told. There is so much more to deal with. But I will come back to this at another time. Let's move on. Ladies and gentlemen, last week I brought some facts in relation to the A and V, the arbitration, the ruling to you. But today, ladies and gentlemen, some of us seems not to understand
on July 31st, 2017,
that Petrotrin has become a casualty of corruption under the PNM. If people in this country,
welcome to News TT, and today we're giving you 10 things
if
you should
people
know
in
about
this
the fake oil
country
scandal.
was serious about country, ladies and gentlemen, serious about the future of the youths in this country, ladies and gentlemen, if only our mothers, our fathers, our grandmothers, and our grandfathers, if only they had love and compassion for us, we would never be in this calamity today. I want to say that again. If our foreparents had true patriotism, true patriotic love and compassion for us, their children, us, their grandchildren, us, their great-grandchildren, we would have never be in this calamity today. But when citizens put race, in front of wisdom, when citizens put race in front of wisdom, ladies and gentlemen, the result can only be what we are now experiencing. What we are now experiencing when you put race in front of wisdom. Just imagine, we have a prime minister, ministers in national security, attorney generals, all high-ranking officials in government, blatantly lying to the population. A matter of fact, we, ladies and gentlemen, as children, we were beaten by the same people who now support this lying government. We were whipped as children. We were whipped, and we were taught to speak the truth, because the truth will set you free. We were whipped by our parents to maintain honesty, to maintain discipline. And yet today, ladies and gentlemen, we are now experiencing the same parents and grandparents that whip us for standing in defense of the truth, they are now supporting an administration of lies. Where has our moral and spiritual values gone to? When had it disappeared from us? Today, ladies and gentlemen, we see and we believe that race is more important than the future and the livelihood of our children and our grandchildren. We continue to vote along racial lines, placing race as the key factor for governance, placing race as the key factor to support, even though it means supporting the destruction of our children, our nation youths, our grandchildren, and the destruction of our unborn babies. Ladies and gentlemen, we have experienced a type of corruption, a blatant type of corruption in front of our eyes, inside our air. We can smell that corruption. We can taste that corruption. But yet, within the epitome of our thinking, we support a party based on race, even though that party provides destruction for the future of our generation. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2015, Nicole Oliverie contested the general election on a PNM ticket, and oh, she was victorious. She was even made to be a minister in Keith Rowley administration. A minister of high profile, a minister of energy, one of the top ministry in our country. And while she was a minister, it is alleged that the minister Nicole Oliverie, during her discourse, came across mass corruption, allegedly in NGC, allegedly in Petrotrin. And I want you to keep Trinma in your mind. Ladies and gentlemen, I am being told that that minister allegedly makes certain information known to a particular hierarchy in the cabinet. I am also being told, ladies and gentlemen, that high-ranking cabinet minister also allegedly said back then to the minister, leave it alone. I will set a team to investigate. Ladies and gentlemen, I am also being told that it is alleged that the said minister spoke to a trusted friend in the Santa Flora area. But that trusted friend, ladies and gentlemen, had another trusted friend in the cabinet. And it is further alleged that that trusted friend said to the other friend within the cabinet the whisper that was going around. But that another hierarchy in the cabinet whisper what he had been told by that friend to the top another ranking cabinet official. Ladies and gentlemen, I am also being told that in 2016, October 31st, 2016, I am told that Nicole Oliverie were in a small country outside of Trinidad and Tobago, and she was fired. Not even in our jurisdiction. She was fired while she was outside. I want to say something now. I want to say to Nicole Oliverie, if what I'm being told is true, I am saying to you, it is not too late. And I think that you will understand what I'm talking about. It is not too late. I know for a fact that we had some encounters on the political stage. I know that. I also know that you were very young, immature in the political arena, even though they give you that ministry to hold on. I also know that you have made a lot of mistakes. But don't hold that against me. As politicians, we must be able to rise. And so I am saying to you, Ms. Oliverie, if what it is alleged took place, and as a result of you standing up against the hierarchies, you were fired, I am saying if that is so, Ms. Oliverie, it is not too late. It is not too late. Ladies and gentlemen, we in this country, we have been cheated, we have been hoodwinked, we have been mesmerized, we have been taken for granted, and now we are now being taken for fools. They are now taking us for idiots. Ladies and gentlemen, last week, while we were on this same topic, and I want to say to whoever dropping documents in my mailbox, please continue. Please continue to drop the facts, and let us bring the facts to the public domain, where we will have a judgment by the electorate of this country, putting an end to this nepotism and this corruption, this discrimination that has been plaguing us since 2015 to now. Ladies and gentlemen, when we examined last week what was taking place as a result of this shotgun tribunal that was held in favor and ruled in favor of A and V. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am in possession of that forensic audit report. I am in possession. So what I'll do before we get into that, I will take a 1-minute break, and we will come back and put the facts on the table. So we'll take a break. Of that, what happened? I also tell you about Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj, who said that he had resigned from politics, and when I heard that he stand up and condemn my leader, a leader that them have a problem with, a leader that surpassed their imagination, a leader that stand tall over those short guys, I understand what is happening. And then when I saw this pic, I understand further what is taking place, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into some facts. Ladies and gentlemen, hear what is happening. The internal audit, after concluding based on their investigations that misbehavior and corruption and fraudulent activities, discrepancies were taking place between the Catsell field and Pointe-à-Pierre. This is some of their conclusions. Every drilling, they were given a contract back in 2009, the 18th of November. That contract is known as the Incremental Production Service Contract. They call it the IPSC. That contract, ladies and gentlemen, AV Drilling, Petrotrin, and AV had agreed that AV, from the well to the Pointe-à-Pierre storage facility, AV was responsible to deliver crude. Of course, Petrotrin in return will pay for the amount of crude. Ladies and gentlemen, the order tells you, as I take up from last week, that there were willful collusion between Vidya Devulki Singh and AMV Drilling to defraud Petrotrin. This action took place in relation to the sale tickets for crude. The report shows you that on a number of occasions, Vidya Devulki Singh was never at the Catsell field to ensure the amount of oil that would pump from Catsell to the Pointe-à-Pierre base. It will also show you that even the GPS report on the vehicle that Vidya Devulki Singh was driving, the GPS proved that that vehicle spent more time by AV head office than in the Catsell field. The report will also show you, ladies and gentlemen, that the sale tickets could not have add up to what they state that they pump from that area. The report further tells you that the storage reservoir or tank, it had not been cleaned for a while. A matter of fact, there were no proper reading, what we will call dip the tank. So how that work is that from the different wellheads, the oil will come to AV facility, storage facility. Then the Petrotrin representative, together with A&V representative, will take a dip on the tank, determine how much crude, after they bleed the water from the tank, they will take a dip and they will have a great idea as to the amount of fuel in the storage tank. Added to that, ladies and gentlemen, there were a chart system. This chart would hook up to the main pumping system. And this chart, together with the dischargement or the stroke at the pump, this chart will read as to how many, not only strokes of oil that left the facility, but an accurate reading from those charts. Added to that, ladies and gentlemen, the report also shows that there were oil classification, that there were different samples of crude. The reports also show you that even the samples of crude oil were manipulated. The samples that were sent is not the samples that was coming from the Catsale field. A matter of fact, the report also states that Avery drilled 6 wells. 3 of the wells had little or no oil, while documentation were going to Petrotrin headquarters as these oil pumping 5,000 barrels of oil a day. That is what the report was saying, that these wells were pumping. The report will also show you that upon investigation, that not only was it a blatant lie, but the report will show you that because of scientific testing, these wells were not producing 5,000 but 1,400 and 1,200 respectively. Ladies and gentlemen, not only was these wells overstated, the report will also tell you that when this investigation, while it was going on, and they went to Catsale Field to do the necessary forensic tests, that 3/4 of the wells were automatically shut down, and the reporters, the forensic investigators, were told that these wells wax up. Wax up is when the crude is so thick that in some cases, like in CL and other areas, they had to put down steam generators. So they would have sent steam to these wells. Because of the thickness of the oil like pitch, the steam will go down and melt it, and it will make it much easy for the service pump that hook up on the pumping jack, that go up and down by every stroke to bring the oil up within the tubing and send it to the flow line, which it will be collected at the batteries. The batteries is a big name for a tank farm. So when they went to do their forensic tests, that is what happened. Added to that, ladies and gentlemen, listen how far this corruption gone. Added to that, there was a certain man who was brought in Petrotrin Santa Flora. He was brought in as the manager in Santa Flora. This man, ladies and gentlemen, was a high-ranking PNM official. This man, ladies and gentlemen, at one time became the mayor of Point 14. Not only was he the mayor of Point 14, but he had brought in other high-ranking PNM officials who one was a VP in Petrotrin, and that individual, I think Iwa George sing a song close to him. Iwa George sing a song. But that's pretend Iwa name. And all depends on how we could pronounce it. Instead of, you could say Aiwa. A matter of fact, you could even call Aiwa Awa. That man, ladies and gentlemen, bring this VP in Petrotrin. He, together with some other high-ranking PNM, 3 of them, sometime before Espany and Harewood, they had to resign. A matter of fact, I am going to tell you how deep the corruption was. A matter of fact, they asked them to name the price. What you will take, but you have to go home. I come into some serious bacchanal, you know, ladies and gentlemen. And this bacchanal is bacchanal in the sense of the word because of the large conspiracy. But this is a program that you get facts, not fiction and old talk. So this gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, when the audited report will tell you that this gentleman did not, ladies and gentlemen, as a VP, he did not assist these forensic audits to take place. The report will tell you that this man was more serving the interests of A&V than the interests of the company that he was working for. It is in the audited report. A matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, the 3 reports indicate that this fake oil scandal was taking place since in February 2016. Like all in here, me. The audited report tell Espany and the board to go back in February 2016. Oliverie left Petrotrin in October 2016, the 31st. She was fired as minister, not left Petrotrin, but left the ministerial portfolio as a result of cutthroat by Keith Rowley. But the report states that since 2016, this scandal was taking place. Added to that, the report proved that over 800 million barrels of oil Petrotrin pay $33 plus US for 800 million barrels of oil that they never receive. So when the audited report was concluded and Espany is on record saying that the board will have to go back and check into this serious allegation, what happened, ladies and gentlemen? Instead of they go back and bust the mark, because the then Franklin Can stood up in our parliament and state that AV is doing much better. A matter of fact, that AV could give Petrotrin competition. AV could give Petrotrin competition. Franklin can stood up in the parliament and boast. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell all you something today. So instead, they go back into the investigation and lock up who had to get locked up. What Keith Rowley did instead is to shut down Petrotrin, killing all the evidence with it. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is not politics, you know. This is not lie and old talk, you know. This is facts. From 2016, they ordered from 2017 January to July, and they withheld some $83,000. And it was agreed upon after A&V lost all their matters. They lost the matter in the High Court. They lost the matter in the Appeal Court. The Privy Council didn't want to hear them. But to the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, a 3x4 shotgun arbitration process. And I want the producer to put up the 3 picture he just put up there with Rowley, Ramesh Maharaj, and the Attorney General. I wonder what they're watching on the phone. I wonder what they're watching on that phone. I see Rowley smiling. I wonder if he's studying how to cut that fruit cake that my wife does always bake. And she does bake it real nice, you know. It has something in the fruit cake. When I chew in it, I don't like to hear that. Scratch, scratch, scratch. They say it's raisins or some kind of little stone in raisins and thing. When I eat in my fruit cake, I like my fruit cake to eat smooth. So I wonder if them watching a smooth fruit cake and everybody smiling. Ladies and gentlemen, this country, we have been robbed. A matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, this government cover up. You know why this government cover it up? Because some of them we see smiling would not be able to smile if that investigation was concluded. I ain't want to go too far in that, you know, because I hear TTPS say that they're still doing the investigation. So I want to go too far. But ladies and gentlemen, it is a pack of crooks. These people, this PNM, murder, they should be charged for murder. They have murdered Petrotrin. They have murdered Petrotrin. And then they come to you and tell you some kind of idiotism that Kamala, and are so disappointed in Lawrence Maharaj. I lost all respect for Ramesh, boy. Ramesh, you have disappointed me. You have disappointed the people of this country. Ramesh, you have fought that same PNM. Those same people, party that alignment with there. You have fought them for years with Bazio Pandey. You fought them. And for some reason, all you quiet. All you're so quiet that the noise all you're making is deafening with all your silence. All you fight that PNM. And today, all you will never stand up and speak about the mismanagement of this country, not only in relation to Petrotrin, but in relation to everything else. All your quiet, all your mouth shut, all. But you know something? Mommy always tell me, birds of a feather do everything together. And I, ladies and gentlemen, you could take off Ramesh now. I want to see no more producer. Take off Ramesh now. I want to tell you something about another lawyer. It had another lawyer, ladies and gentlemen. And this lawyer used to work in the sea. This lawyer was working in the sea. And this lawyer had fishermen diving deep and killing fishes. Any fish that passed close to that lawyer who working in the sea used to send his fishermen and them to kill them fish. And them fishermen dive. They kill cutlass fish. They kill sardine. They kill wabin. They kill shark. They kill carrot. They kill kovali. And when they had so much fish, they pack some of the dead fish in a car trunk. And when they pack the dead fish in a car trunk, they take it from the sea and they bring it and pack it by a big cinema. The cinema was so big that the cinema had everything in it. They pack the car with dead fishes in the trunk. And it so happened that lawyer who used to work in the sea, he get vexed with his fisherman friend and them. And he decide, instead of the fishermen and them kill fish, he will kill the fishermen. And so said, so done. But ladies and gentlemen, it had one of the fishermen that he was brave. That fisherman didn't fear. And that fisherman came out and said, look, I want to say how much fish that we went deep underwater and killed for that fisherman. And I will tell the truth. You know what happened? It was rush hour. And the hour was rushing so close that before the fisherman could open his mouth, the fisherman was no longer with us. When you have time, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to check and see who is that lawyer that was working in the sea with them fishermen. That is what I want you to do. So while you're working on that, let me conclude with this. Ladies and gentlemen, we have allowed this government to rob our families. Ladies and gentlemen, all you playing foolish, all you playing stupid, all you understand what's going on, all you understand what will be the outcome at this Petrotrin issue, all you understand the billions and billions of dollars that this country already lost as a result of this big P&M corruption. Well, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you something. With this magnitude of corruption and investigation, I want to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, if you in this country believe for 1 second that the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago was not aware of this corruption, I want to tell you something. I want to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, if you believe that this parliament, that this cabinet wasn't aware of this level of corruption, ladies and gentlemen, Petrotrin is a state-owned, was a state-owned. This level of corruption have to come down from the top. Keith Rowley must have known about this operation. The Attorney General must have known about this operation. Ladies and gentlemen, Keith Rowley confessed that he had visited Bash House on 4 or 5 occasions. Probably 10, the way he just can't remember good these days what he said today and say something else tomorrow. He probably could be there 10 times, but he say 4 or 5. I'm working with that. What was the dates of these 4 and 5 occasions that Keith Rowley would have visited Bash House? And you 2x4 journalists, all your bunch of jokers, I see all you trying to get a real journalist pressure, but she will survive. All your bunch of jokers who afraid to ask Rowley question because he say, all you like some puppy, and he surely it is. All in a corner, all the jokers. Half all who is not jokers, the next half all is PNM. When was Rowley? What is the dates that Rowley visited this man's house? When Rowley had information about this investigation, put the life together, you know. I ain't doing that for you. Put it together, the facts inside it. When Rowley get information about that scandal, all you ask you that. How could a prime minister and these journalists, listen to all you now, man. Rowley asks all you, my leader say misbehavior in public office. Here we ask earlier, what was the misbehavior? When I make the call, yes, Rowley. Yes, Rowley. That is the misbehavior. How in God's name, you as a prime minister of this country, you who is head of the National Security Council, here an allegation according to you. Here this big allegation about millions of dollars in fake oil. And you call the alleged perpetrator to ask him, what is this about? Not only so, you call your PNM candidate for Siparia in 2015, Vidya Dilki Singh, and ask him, what is this about? Why you didn't call your Attorney General Rowley? Why you didn't call your Petrotrin board Rowley? Rowley, why you didn't call your board? Is you appoint the board? Is you appoint the chairman? So you hear about this big fake oil scandal and you ain't call your board. You ain't call your minister. You ain't call your Attorney General. But you call Bash and Dilki Singh, the 2 individuals that these serious misconduct allegation hanging on their head, and you telling we in Trinidad and Tobago, you're called to find out what this is about. What happened to our Integrity Commission? This is a serious indictment. Rowley didn't call Franklin Khan. I wonder why. Rowley didn't call Faris Al-Wari. I wonder why. Rowley didn't call Yearwood, who was the chairman at the time. I wonder why. But Rowley called A&V Drilling, and Rowley called Vidya Deruki Singh. This is a clear case of not only a conflict of interest, ladies and gentlemen, but it is a clear case of misbehavior in public office. That is what this is. That is what this will always be. And that is why we are in this situation. A matter of fact, that is why Petrotrin doors are closed and over 5,000 people home. The PNM have a way of taking care of their own. The British law lords in England, when they saw that Faris Al-Wari had withdrawn the case against Malcolm Jones, the British law lords say, what in God's name has this mean? The British law lords say, what in God's name? A clear case for Trinidad Petrotrin to recover its finance. The Attorney General pulled the plug. What an indictment on the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You know what that big word mean? What an indictment? It simply means to you, my people, what a disaster on your rights, your children's rights, and the monies that you will have benefit from, that today wouldn't have to be begging for a hamper. The British law lords say, what a big disaster that this PNM government has perpetrated. Forget all them big words. Forget them big words. What a disaster that the PNM government has brought upon you, the poor people in this country. That is why today you don't have food to eat. That is why today you begging for a hamper. That is why today Rowley could tell you, eat a banana and give your neighbor one. That is why today Rowley could give some peel cassava and 2 pieces of yam in a plastic bag until they cook that for a week. You know why? Because them eating lamb, jam, ham and pram. Them eating everything. And then Robert says, scotch and shrimps. They having a time. They drinking goat milk, you know. You feel them drinking dairy, it's goat milk. Goat milk can be about $1,000 a bottle now, a gallon. Them eating the best. And here what they do, they come every press conference and tell you, Stuart Young stood up and say that we care about you. Stuart Young, that vaccine that you get, that vaccine had water in it. And that water going to your brain. All you care about poor people in Trinidad and Tobago. All you care about the poor and the downtrodden. All you care about the citizens in this country. All you lick up Petrotrin. All you conspire now, the government, conspiring now how to ensure that this money, I saw that a senior attorney for Petrotrin, she called on the government to move, hasten their move and set aside, get that judgment set aside and bring justice to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I ain't see Alwari moving a finger. I ain't see a finger moving. Instead of that, I seen a nice portrait with Faris Alwari, Ramesh Lawrence Maraj, and Keith Rowley. Ladies and gentlemen, as I leave you tonight, I want to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to stand tall, stand in the gap, stand for the future of your children. This party that Hitler leads is not about you. It is not about your children. It is not about your grandchildren. This party is about the rich, the elites, the friend, and the family. Put aside that race that they poison your mind with. And as soon as this state of emergency finish, let us stand and cry with one voice to remove the PNM from office. And let us, ladies and gentlemen, stand together and bring back someone who cares about you, someone who gave you a baby grant, someone who gave you book grant, someone who gave you laptops and devices, someone who gave you universities and schools, someone who care about you. Let us bring Kamla Prasad Bisesa and do not be conformed to the evil thinking and behavior of this PNM. I know at one time, I think it was Camille Robertson Regis who allegedly tell you get a broom. Well, I want to take that same broom that she tell you to get and to sweep down in front of your place. And before you do that, write PNM on a paper, fold it up small, drop it in front of your door, and get that same broom and sweep them away. Sweep them away. And let us rebuild this country before it's too late. I have one thing to say to you. From next week until the UNC start back its virtual meeting, this live will now move to 7:30 p.m. every Thursday. This live will move to 7:30 p.m. every Thursday, where we will bring the facts, we will bring the evidence, and we ask you to decide and judge. Let us not allow this Petrotrin issue, this cover-up, this behavior by the Prime Minister, who did not call his minister, who did not call his Attorney General, who did not call his chairman, but call his friend and the candidate who is the subject of this major oil scandal. Keep that in your mind, Trinidad and Tobago. God bless you. Stay safe. Stay strong. I out.